But the best basketball of the weekend, the best player in America, the best shooter in America, Caitlin Clark at Iowa. Just watch. It's not. There's no hyperbole here. Watch her play. She plays at a high level, highly skilled. She's the best passer in America, and she's the best shooter in America. Promise. You get a chance to watch her. If you haven't watched her, you're doing yourself a disservice if you're a college basketball fan.
Yeah, she's displaying some skill right now that's like, and she moving fast. Like, it look like she don't look like, it look like everybody on that court is way slower than her when she get into her stuff. I remember watching her when she was a summer going into her senior year. I was in Chicago for 3 days for the Girls AAU Nationals.
Yeah.
Her team from Iowa, like, they played together so smooth, but she was always leading that. She always had the ball in her hands. Everybody was playing off of her. She just commanded the whole game. I was like, who the hell is this? She is nice. It was like, oh, she the best player in the country. I was like, oh, damn. I see it now. Like,
right.
Like when you walk in and you don't even know who anybody is, and they just be like, yo, that's the best player in the country right there. It's just like, yo, that hits you out of nowhere. Like, let me really focus in on her.
I'm looking. There's Clark. She fires. She hit it.
Caitlin Clark has absolutely been killing it, lighting up the basketball world with her dazzling abilities out on the floor to the point where she has captured the hearts of a lot of fans nationwide. What started off as just a glimmer of hope and inspiration for our Iowa community quickly spread like wildfire after her game reached the screens of the masses throughout social media. I am Coach JB, and welcome to the Doctrine of Hoops channel, a place where we take a journey through the magical world of basketball. Before we get into the unprecedented rise of Caitlin Clark, I'm gonna need you all to hit that like button so we can rank in the YouTube algorithm and grow this channel and community. Without further ado, let's get into it. So, I was lucky enough to catch her a bit before the masses caught on, and I was immediately a fan. Historically, I wasn't much of a women's basketball fan, but I knew the men's game inside and out. I saw the back and forth about supporting the women's game and that whole narrative, and I figured I'd give it a shot. I first had to adjust my view of the game and realize how basketball translates to the women's sport. Essentially, I had to find the correlation between the men's and the women's game. After looking into it, slowly but surely, I found myself becoming more and more of fans of the players. In that time period, I found myself watching players like Rakia Jackson, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Plum, Alicia Gray, Cameron Brink, Haley Van Lith, and some of my personal faves like Olivia Miles and Ryan Howard. But none of these players quite stood out to me like that of Caitlin Clark. Different isn't the word when describing her. It's just something not from this planet, how she plays. So I first caught wind of her on a women's basketball page that I followed. All I kept seeing was these absurd stat lines, 20-point triple-doubles, 30-point triple-doubles, 40 points, 10 assists. It just seemed unreal. And no one was really covering it outside of people that were niche women's basketball fans. At the time, the narrative was still that Aaliyah Boston and Paige Beckers were the two best players in the nation, and they definitely deserved those honors. So when I saw that she was not getting praise, I figured maybe she's just one of those players that put up big numbers in a bad conference or on a bad team. But no, they were extremely competitive. While in the midst of my intrigue, I started seeing Kevin Durant comment on her game. And at that point, I knew she was legit once she got that cosign. Right after that, she had that infamous game against Michigan where she was just lighting them up from the logo 3-point range, hitting all types of difficult shots, and the media outlets picked up on that. And that's when she first got that mainstream recognition. It wouldn't be until another year, which is now where she really stamped her name after having an absolute hell of a run in this year's NCAA tournament, pretty much breaking every record that you could imagine that could be broken, and taking home a bevy of honors, including National Player of the Year. After eliminating a South Carolina team that just won the national tournament the year prior and were undefeated on a 42-game winning streak, her legend only grew, and that set up the match versus LSU, where she would ultimately be eliminated, and we saw all of the controversy that arose from that moment. Two things that you have to admit is women's basketball is finally here, and Caitlin Clark is the truth. But the way the season ended in controversy kind of leaves a bitter taste in the mouths of those that support Caitlin and her career. And now with all that success comes expectations, and the bar is extremely high. And now people are going to be hunting for her. So to protect her rep, it's important that instead of becoming the prey, she must now become the predator. So now that she's lost, there's a lot of dialogue about what happened. Did she just lose to the better team? Is she worth the hype? I will say that there was only so much she could do, and she did everything. The 40-point triple-doubles, having to really shoulder the entire offensive load, dealing with being an undersized team against giants like Aaliyah Boston, Camila Cardoso, and then Angel Reese and LaDasia Williams. She had no other ball handlers that could create shots on their own and kind of alleviate her. Their best defender is only the size of a point guard, and all of their bigs are 6'3" and under. And they don't really have much depth because Iowa doesn't really get a lot of recruits. Although now with this exposure surrounding the brand, a recruit or a potential transfer would be wise to consider Iowa for a chance to compete at that stage and bring attention to your game. With all that said, Caitlin isn't without her flaws, and I think if her roster will remain limited, there are going to be some things that she must improve on to be able to fare better for a deep run in the NCAA tournament. The first area of improvement that I noticed is just her being able to take care of the ball. A lot of the times during the NCAA tournament, especially in the deeper rounds, she really struggled with pressure. She's really had trouble really getting that defender off of her. She's really been, kind of deferring, not driving a lot. She picked up a lot of fouls, a whole lot of fouls. And just being able to take care of that ball, have a tighter handle pressure, you got a target on your back. She has to realize that. There's a real target on her back, and people can kind of understand that she doesn't have that much talent around her. Now don't get me wrong, Monica Sedano and, Kate, they're really great players, but she doesn't really have those dogs that she needs to really compete for a deep run. So teams can kind of just really focus in on her and really take her out of her element. And she must be able to get more crafty and make them respect her drive if she ever wants to really take over and take that next level and really be the LeBron of her sport, basically. On this play, she is going to try to set it up with a crossover, but she loses the ball right here. And that is because of the ball being too high. You know what I mean? Like, you can't really cross and have it, the ball at your shoulder level. You got to cross and, push it out. This drive, she get caught with a push off, and that's because of that pressure. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be able to, deal with that. And right here, she has 6'4" athletic wing Letitia Amihir from South Carolina on her, and you got to be able to protect the ball. You can't have it just sitting right there on the shoulder, like, especially when you got a longer defender on you like that. You have to be able to, shield the ball, put it on your waist, move it around. You don't want to ever just have it standing still in the defender's sight. And that was kind of the key to South Carolina and LSU really kind of flustering her. Now, don't get me wrong, she still had her 30 and she still had her 40 points against South Carolina. So she still can get her points, but it was something different. It wasn't as effortless. She had a lot of turnovers. And right here, you can see that tight pressure on her. She kind of struggles with that. So she has to be able to really, get past that without having to extend your arm. When you extend your arm, that's it. You know what I mean? Like, you got to get used to that pressure on you. She should be, this summer, she should be, in a gym with a partner, really, harassing her, or play pickup games or whatever, runs at the, the college campus gym. Really just focus on, getting somebody to play you really tight. That's all she should be working on. And clearly this is something Steph Curry, we keep giving her these comparisons to Steph Curry, but that's something he had to deal with as well. Playing against the toughest of defenses in the playoffs, especially, getting there so early in his career and really, having that success. He had players like Tony Allen really hounding him. You know what I mean? Avery Bradley, all these players who would get physical. Everybody really, anybody who guarded him would kind of really try to rough him up in his early years. In this clip, we see Tony Allen just shadowing him, like just on him. You can't get over that. He's gonna hit you. He's gonna, stay on you, wear you down. You got to be able to handle that. You can't throw it off, to your teammates. You got to be able to really, muscle through that. Here we can kind of see Luka Doncic being hounded by Patrick Beverley, but he's able to get past that because he's Luka Doncic, but also because, he's able to really effectively use a change of pace dribble. If she can add something like a change of pace dribble to a game, that'll be ultra effective. On this one, she's able to handle some pressure effectively. Obviously, this is not in the NCAA tournament, but this is against a team pressuring her full court. And, she's able to really just stop on a dime and protect the ball she's not out of control. She's not, the ball's not coming up too high in the way. She's able to hit her move and get past her defender. And another thing that she's going to have to stop doing that I kept noticing is she kept picking up the ball in the game. She would just stop her dribble, pick it up, and, look for a teammate to, relieve her. Not necessarily to create an open shot, but just to get somebody to get the ball for her. And as a point guard, that's a no-no. That's a big no-no. You can't do that. Here's another instance where she picked the ball up and she didn't have anywhere to go, nobody to pass it to, and she couldn't really get a shot off. So at that point, you're off balance. You pick up your pivot foot and you're called for the travel. Now, this is one of the times where she made the right decision and she kept her dribble alive. She was able to see the floor and, she got her man with the pump fake and up and under. And the rest is history. Yeah, so she's really going to have to focus on getting that under control. And the next part of her game that I really wanted to focus on, and it was a lot of things. It was strength, it was conditioning, and it was effort, all in one. But really, I want to focus on the effort part because effort is what was lacking. Her lackadaisical defense and not securing rebounds. Players like Luka and Nikola Jokic are always coming up with the ball in their hands despite not being known for their effort and defense. But that's because they always need the ball in their hands. They're playmakers. So you always want the ball in their hands. So whenever there's a loose ball situation, you need to be sprinting to that ball. You need to be, reaching for the ball quickly. You should be the first one on the floor. You should be the first one to pick it up, the first one off to the races to get the ball. And I feel like against LSU and South Carolina, she really kind of struggled with that. So let's get into some of these tapes. Nikola Jokic is very effective at just being able to stand his ground and just instantly go up for the ball. Like, you see how quick he's able to track the ball and grab it at the same time. That's impeccable hand-eye coordination. Really just their ability to really just track the ball down quickly. You want to be able to have the ball in your hands. She's a point guard. She get her rebounds and her assists. She leads the break. So she needs to be able to come up with the ball. Way too many times I've seen in that South Carolina game and in the LSU game where the ball just kind of rolled off because they were packing the paint and sometimes they had long misses. But you have to be able to run out and get the ball, secure the ball, and lead the break. That's what it's all about. And I felt she didn't really do that in those two games. Here's a really good example with somebody closer to her size as far as positionally, with Jason Kidd able to just really track down that ball and really go after it and lead the break and get an easy bucket. So that's what it's all about at the end of the day. And the reason why I brought up strength and conditioning is because I feel like she was really getting tired because they were kind of, leaning on her. They was grabbing her. They was playing her tight. It was, all attention was focused in on her. So she got tired pretty quickly. And she's kind of, not the strongest of athletes. Now she's 155, so that's pretty good weight for a point guard. But still, just having all those defenders and all those, the whole defensive scheme really focused in on you, that's going to weigh on anybody. So she really needs to focus on really getting her strength right, her conditioning right, so she can put up more effort, so she can really focus in on securing those loose balls. Now, the third area of improvement is there should be no way a team is able to put shorter guards on you when you're 6 foot. I think they had a 5'6" guard on her, 5'8" guard on her, something like that. And you're supposed to punish those type of mismatches. And when you're deep in a playoff run or a tournament run or whatever the case may be, there are going to be times where, they put those type of defenders on you. Sometimes the offense goes away and you just going to have to attack the weakest defender. And when somebody's that shorter than you have to really, really put them in their place and really take advantage. Now, Luka is very much accustomed to really taking advantage of mismatches and really punishing the opposing team if they put a smaller guard on him. Right here, he just overwhelms Patrick Beverley. And right here, Luka is able to really just overpower his opponent again, and because he's so quick and strong, he's able to just spin past you and really rise right over you. If Caitlin can implement something like that to her game, she doesn't necessarily need a jump shot to do it, but if she's able to really use her quickness and agility to just go around smaller opponents like that, or just go over them or through them, that's what she needs to do. Although it's rare to see, sometimes she will actually get down there in the post and really, get into her moves. And right here, you can see she has an effective shot right there. So she's able to do that. She just have to do it more, especially when you're getting pressured like she was in the South Carolina game and in the LSU game. All in all, this was a beautiful moment for women's basketball, despite the nasty and toxic turn it has gone with the media narratives. But what else can you expect from American media at this point? Controversy brings in clicks, and unfortunately, it was a part of the reason the championship game was the most viewed women's game of all time, with 9.9 million viewers and 12.6 million peak. This whole framing Clark as the bad guy for celebrating as every player across sports do is weird. From doing the "you can't see me" sign to her own bench and crowd, to having friendly trash talk with Haley Van Lith, who was her roommate on the USA team, to how she waved off Raven Johnson, trying to bait her into shooting with somebody like Draymond Green would do to somebody like Ben Simmons. In conclusion, there is nothing to hang her head about. This is the start of a long journey in what will shape up to be a legendary and prosperous career that we celebrate on this channel. But that's it for this one, guys. We recently hit 300 subscribers on the channel, and I created this channel to give exposure to players that deserve it. The NBA and its media partners basically have a monopoly on who they want to get the recognition in the NBA. This channel is an opportunity to counter that and give exposure to the less talked about players who deserve it. If that interests you, subscribe to the channel and share this video. Also, down below in the comment section, let me know what your thoughts are on this topic. This has been a Doctrine of Hoops production, and I'm signing off.